the interesting fact is, more than the fear of not earning a salary, it's the excitement of building something that you're passionate about.
Do you think these Gen Z founders do they have empathy, or is this something, one of the traits they lack?
And I think it's good for the country as well, right? Going forward, I think a lot of jobs are going to be entrepreneurial. Good day, everybody. Welcome to Building in India. We have a very special guest today, Mili. She started off being a corporate person, moved into being an entrepreneur, then being a biz dev person at a startup, to now your current role at DIAGEO. So you've seen the different bucket stages. We would love to hear more about you, Mili. And thanks for coming on the show.
No, thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. Sandy's been, honestly, Sandy, you're very generous in my introduction. Ideally, people would say you've been very confused all through your life, except I think the last 7-8 years where I know what I want to do. So it's been an interesting journey because I was lost and I was just trying everything and anything that came my way. So as you said, started my life like a typical, graduate or a postgraduate with the corporate world. I think all our aim was to join the corporate world, and in those times, startup wasn't a big thing. And I don't come from a family where, setting up a business was very encouraging. In fact, government jobs was the way. So I'm a classic case of a very traditional, setup, outcome of a very traditional setup. But somewhere along the way, I think as a person who gets bored very fast, I wanted to experiment and do different things. I will start from 2008. I think that's the point where I took to entrepreneurship, because I joined a social enterprise company, which was in fact experimenting in the space of giving loans to low income or low value schools. So these are called affordable private schools, where government schools were just failing because they weren't teaching English. So even people who could afford 100 or a 50 rupee fee were running towards affordable private schools to teach their children English, because they've already been taught English. And this is a model that is not only popular in India, but it was picking up very fast in Africa, in India, in parts of Southeast Asia. So this was then researched, and with the low ticket size of the fee, the turnover was anywhere between, I remember, 14 to 26% year on year. And yet no financial institution would give them loans, no financial institutions would touch them, because they were primarily in the unorganized sector. So the job we had on hand was to see...
This was back in...
2008.
Indian
School Finance.
Or was it...
Hyderabad.
It was Hyderabad, right?
And why Hyderabad? Because Hyderabad, if you remember, at that time was the hub for microfinance. So these were all small ticket size loans given to affordable private schools. So I joined this company called Indian School Finance Company. And that was my first venture into a futuristic business. It got merged and acquired recently, a few years ago. But a very, very, I would say, very different model. And what we were attempting to do was tough. But that was the joy. That was the enjoyable part. That what we were attempting was never attempted before. But we made it sustainable. It was sustainable, and it merged into a bigger brand.
How was it going from corporate to startup the first time, Mili? I mean, you lady scared?
Very.
We get asked that question a lot, because I'm sure that, when you're a first generation founder, there is this pressure from home, from friends, from family, whatever. How was that first feeling that you had? And how did you work your way into being comfortable as a founder?
So the interesting fact is, more than the fear of not earning a salary, it's the excitement of building something that you're passionate about, that overtakes, at least for a very, very long time. If you're unable to generate revenue ultimately, then yes, then it becomes unsustainable. But you do your calculations to say that if I try this for 2 years and I do it like bootstrapped, each one to their own, like some people say I can go on for 5 years, some say I have 1 year window. So you have to calculate that. But yes, it's tough, especially, I don't know, my generation came a lot from the government background.
I remember my dad's time, your dad's time was like...
They're all government officials. They didn't value.
You get a pension, you'll get cars, you'll get everything taken care of. You have security. Security is the most important thing, right?
That was the world we grew up with. Yeah, Sandy.
But I'm just curious. So you come from such a background which is more safety first. How did you get interested into startups and or entrepreneurship?
So as I said, I get bored very fast. So
No, but then why not another job? You get bored with one job, you switch jobs.
it's the same. It's the same. So it's like grass always feels greener on the other side, and after some time, the same routine will set in because there's only so much. And to be fair to all giants, there's only so much. They have already reached a stage where they have systems that work well for them clinically. Why should they change their system for your passion? They shouldn't. So it is a lot of work, but because it's set in a very well-oiled machinery, it becomes routine. So for people who enjoy that is different, but I think we are all different DNAs. I realize probably that if I do the same job again, I get very bored.
But do you think is this still one of the biggest reasons why founders start companies, people become entrepreneurs?
For most of them, a lot of them that I saw, they've never worked in the corporate.
Right.
Never worked. They, in the college days, had ideas and they just went ahead. And I'll say, I mean, we all talk about India doing better. This is also the Gen Z's parents have worked so hard. They have built all that security. They don't want their kids to be struggling with those, the base level itself from where we started to where they are starting is a huge gap.
Right.
So they are starting where they don't have to worry about food, clothing, shelter. And then they are saying that, oh, so we are at a stage where we can take those risks because risks when you take has an economic impact. And I learned it the hard way. The economics precedes all logic in life. So when you don't have economics on your side, it gets difficult versus Gen Zs, I will give it to their parents.
Yeah, because there's that 25 years of asset building that people have done, slow compounding. They then have kids. The kids came up with being native digital, all of that. And suddenly they're standing in a position where, hey, I can actually go back. If I'm trying something for a couple of years, I can go back. There's obviously the home, this, that, whatever. And then why don't I take a chance? We never had that option actually, right?
Where did we have any options, Andy? Look at simple
Engineer and
things
doctor.
like, look at food. I think food is a great indication of what a generation has. At least we grew up, Andy, with moms deciding what goes in that box. I still remember either it was bread with butter or jam, or it was, in the northern part of the world, you have parathas. With vegetables, right? And whatever goes in that box, you finish. And today I see my kids, not only my kids, their friends, oh, we don't eat gluten, we don't eat sugar, we don't eat lactose. And I'm like, oh, what do you eat?
No, it's we had dabba, Mili. These days they have gourmet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm like, oh, if I had even mentioned that word, then I remember I telling my mother that, I don't like kanda. She said, ye kanda nahi, tomato nahi, mere ghar mein nahi chalega. When you have your own house, do all this. Out of my house. Straight away, like, shown the door. Now it's like...
And then we're also biased because we came through that generation where our parents didn't have too much. They had safety, stability. And then right now we're probably judging them based on our biases.
Which always happens.
Which always happens, right?
Mili, I have one question for you. You talked about as a person, you like going out of your comfort zone. That's something you thrive on, you enjoy. I also assume that is a key trait in a founder, early stage founder.
So it's one level higher for a founder. It's not comfort zone. You are existing in oblivion and ambiguity. There are no guarantees like anywhere. The business will survive, you'll make money, you'll survive. Nothing. It's like, there is this classic statement I heard somebody narrating it on stage that, there was a king and he gives death penalty to one of the subjects. So, as a last wish, you're supposed to ask the subject that, what do you want? The subject says that, I will make your horse fly, give me a year. So the king was very impressed. He says, yeah, why not? He gives him a year and then the others ask him, you fool, how are you going to make the horse fly? He said, who's seen 1 year? Horse might die, I might die, the king might die. That's how an entrepreneur should be. Who is seeing? You have to take all your bets. So for me, if there is 0.01 or maybe sometimes lesser chance and you're willing to take it, that's an entrepreneur. And he says, I will take this chance and I will do everything to convert it into. So I was reading, that book called Hard Things About Hard Things. The key message there is, if a disruption, Ben Horowitz, if a key disruption looks logical, then it's not disruptive enough. So it should make sense. It shouldn't make sense, and sometimes I feel bad for some entrepreneurs because it's a vision and it's very difficult to make an Excel-oriented, a hardcore, logic-oriented person see a vision that is beyond all logic. Again, Einstein said, no, logic will take you from A to B and imagination will take you beyond. But to prove an imagination in a business model is a very difficult task. Some founders do it beautifully, some struggle with it. So for me, maybe early stage companies belong in labs and they should continue. And you can fund them. We have also funded them early stage. But I am slightly more appreciative of people who've done a little POC, proof of concept, and come back with some kind of, reality check on how it's being received. Even if it's in small numbers, it doesn't matter. But some sense of whether that is going to be received or not. I mean, then I see, fair enough, some entrepreneurs want to raise big money over very small TAMs. But those are garage companies. There's no harm, I will still say. There's absolutely no harm in having a very small TAM. But then you have to be prepared that you're going to be a garage company and, you see...
Why do we not raise so much
That's right.
capital, right?
You don't deserve that capital. So it's tough. It's easier to ask for money, but
I have one question on this because you mentioned TAM. Now, I know you admire these category defining companies. When they started out, their TAM wasn't large. Maybe it was growing quickly or it grew quickly because of some things people didn't see. So, when you see a small TAM, do you also try to assess that, hey, is it possible that this TAM can skyrocket in 5 years, 10 years?
A very valid question, because there are TAMs which are being tested in a small market and they want to get out and expand. That's a different logic. But I don't know, I mean, if it's a right example, but say you're making safety pins. The women use those safety pins.
Right.
How much can you make of it? That's the question. And how many people do you think are really going to buy it? It is, even if you spread it everywhere, it's a very restricted TAM. So you'll need to have, so I always say building a brand versus building a company, they're two different logics.
Sure.
You can be okay. I'm okay. You want to build a brand? You build a brand, one product. But then your chances, especially in India, given the Indian diaspora, of getting lost in, it'll be a needle in a haystack. You'll get lost in this large market.
So, what's the difference between building a brand versus building a company?
Company has to have more than one offering.
Multiple brands.
That's right.
And as
One offering. Yeah.
As an investor, then, do you like founders who are building multiple brands at a time? Or you're building one brand and then...
One at a time. Yeah, one at a time. Ideally. Because I'll tell you, at least in our industry, innovation costs a lot. So if you're constantly spending, it might not be the best use of funds than building one brand, setting it up a little, stabilizing it, and then you build your next set of brands.
So how do you know whether a founder who is building one brand will eventually be able to build multiple brands? Because a company needs multiple brands, especially a decent sized company. How do you assess that when you're talking to founders?
That's why I spend 18 months with them. So, and I mean, this is going to go out, but I do like
you
meeting
talk
my
to
founders
18 months.
on an average.
On an average.
12 to 18 months.
How many meetings do you do?
I don't count. I just meet
Dozens.
I just meet them and talk to them all the time to get to know them, get to know how they're progressing over those months. What is their, I'll be honest, even where they come from, their backgrounds, their environments, where they have set up their company, what does that environment look like? So if you ask me, I'm very curious to know everything about my founders. Like, just so that there's nothing that is a blind spot. I know where they come from.
That's like the Mili deep dive due diligence.
Yeah, that's like an informal due diligence that I do to say, I want to know everything about these guys. And
Yeah, so I think one of the advantages that B2B tech has over D2C in different categories is I always tell founders, you build something, put it out there. There might be customers using your product in a different use case. So your TAM is not restricted to what you envisaged, built and put it there. It might be something else that the guy catches on as a prospect. Some of the category defining companies actually didn't start in that particular area. Take for example Slack. Slack didn't start off wanting to be an inter-company, inter-group messaging platform. Instagram started something else, right?
Zomato closer home.
Yeah, exactly. Foodie Bay. I mean, so I think the advantage that B2B tech has is that you can ship code very quickly, unlike D2C, put it out there, and then you have different cohorts of people actually using your product in different use cases. And then you say, hey, this use case makes more sense. So maybe we prioritize building this use case
Right.
and the business around it rather than the original use case that we thought about.
no, absolutely, it's happening. In fact, one of our investee companies, it's a non-alc, but they themselves didn't realize that people are using it as mixers and additives in their cocktails. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. The founders are like, we didn't think of it, but now it's also being used in an additive and a mixer.
So I really want to talk to you about the innovation happening in Alcobev industry in India. But
I will invite you to Goa. Both of you should come to with us to Goa.
No,
That's the India's best kept secret. It's the Silicon Valley for alcohol. And that's because that state gives a lot of freedom. It's made acquiring a license much easier. I think by default, because this is where governments play a very big role. They gave them that open wide space and made it easy over the years. The community, like Bangalore has a very, very strong tech community. If you want to build an alcohol brand, like you mentioned, you might want to, you have to be in Goa because you'll raise your hand and 20 other founders and the ecosystem will support you in the various subparts of building a brand will be taken care of within that one state.
wow.
So that's how powerful I would say the ecosystem there is.
Yeah, I think that's a great closing thought.
That was a very good closing thought. But Mili, I think we love this conversation. We are sitting in an amazing space. We are much indebted to Beehive for this location. Thank you all. See you next time.